On the 14th of Feb 2018, a 19-year-old Nikolas Cruz, dropped off by an Uber outside Stoneman Douglas High School, marched into Building 1200 carrying a rifle case and a backpack. Within 10 minutes, he had killed 17 people and injured a further 17 more, and had blended in with the screaming, panicking crowd and had escaped. Inside an hour, he was arrested several miles away from the high school in Coral Springs by police. Nikolas Cruz was charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder and 17 counts of attempted murder. The Stoneman Douglas High School shooting was the deadliest high school shooting in US history, exceeding the numbers for the Columbine shooting. Nikolas Cruz remains in custody in jail awaiting trial. The trial has been postponed multiple times due to things like depositions and mental health evaluations not being able to be carried out by professionals due to COVID-19. It is thought that the state was wishing to seek the death penalty for this horrendous action. But due to the lengthy time that this kind of thing usually does take anyway, plus COVID-19, it's looking like, at least according to the media, that the state will pursue a life sentence instead. So, why did this happen? Who is Nikolas Cruz? Why is there such a catastrophic amount of heavy criticism aimed at local police, the high school, and mental health services? Well, today I'll be doing my best to piece these things together for you. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Alex and welcome back to the Irate Alex channel, and today guys we're doing another True IRL, another in the True Crime series on the channel, and we're looking at a school shooter, a mass shooter who brutally murdered in cold blood 17 people and injured a further 17. Quick disclaimer before we get further into this, it is not my intention to disrespect any of the victims, any of the students or teachers or families of those victims in this video. I do not intend to speak about the political upheaval that would have naturally occurred post-shooting. I don't want to talk about gun control. I don't want to talk about President Trump. And whilst we will of course be discussing the events and the aspects of Nikolas Cruz that led up to this moment, please do not think at any point that I am making excuses for him. At no point will I be using any aspect of mental health as an excuse, as a cause for anything that he did. What he did was reprehensible, it was disgusting, it was horrifying, and he deserves to be punished accordingly in accordance with Florida state law. Those students and staff members that were brutally murdered that day deserve justice. So you may have noticed from the thumbnail the words catastrophic failure ? Now these of course are not my own personal criticisms or talking points. These are the criticisms and the heavy talking points that were thrown in all different directions post-shooting. I understand why they exist, and I think it's worth going through them. After all, many questions were asked post-shooting. How did this happen? So how did this happen when there were so many warning signs that led up to this horrific moment in history? 1 month prior to the shooting, somebody made an anonymous tip to the FBI tip line. And that tip wasn't forwarded to the correct office in Florida. Was this laziness? Was this incompetence? Or was it just blatant disregard for a major concern? After all, Nikolas Cruz, yes, he's a socially awkward individual. He has a form of autism. He has ADHD. He has depression. and he acts in a very, very strange way. As I said, the warning signs have been there for quite some time. In 2002, when he was just the age of 4, he was diagnosed as developmentally delayed. He does engage in very odd behavior. His Instagram is full of pictures of guns, posing with guns, taking pictures of animals that he's killed, that he's bragging about this. He's finding himself getting into constant fights with other students. He's transferred between schools 6 different times, even being sent to a school for the mentally and physically disabled, and subsequently being sent back to Stoneman Douglas, and then subsequently being expelled from there a year prior to the shooting due to getting into fights, due to threatening other students. Every school he's sent to, he's threatening other students. He is a very, very angry young man. He's adopted from a young age. His father dies in 2004 due to a heart attack. His adoptive mother dies in 2017 due to pneumonia, and now he's staying with a friend. At some point, he develops a massive obsession with firearms, posting many a picture of it on his Instagram. Ammunition is found in his backpack when he goes to school. Testimonies from students post-shooting and testimonies from neighbors tell us how creepy and how odd he is. He was known for stalking a female student. He was known for shooting at a householder's chickens. He had apparently bitten another child. In fact, his behavior is so erratic and so overtly damaging that psychiatrists recommend in 2013 that he be involuntarily submitted to a residential psychiatric facility. Students at Stoneman Douglas even state post-shooting that they used to joke around that he would possibly become a school shooter later on in life. His behavioral issues have existed since he was in middle school. In fact, in 2013, he received a total of 26 disciplinary incidents on his report due to his behavior. Investigations after the shooting carried out by local police and the FBI find that there is a great deal of neo-Nazi-like discussions going on in his Instagram DM. There's a great deal of discussion around his racism, xenophobia. Allegedly, his firearms have little swastikas carved into them. I cannot confirm the allegations of racism, however, due to not seeing any visual evidence of this. I have only seen screenshots of his Instagram, and that mainly consisted of him posing with guns and a screenshot of a Google search where he searched up what does Allahu Akbar mean. Such a great focus has been put onto Nikolas Cruz's mental health. So much so that the local public have been trying to sue local mental health services. And that's something that I would very much like to come back to later on in this video for my own opinions. A great deal of criticism has been aimed at the local police department along with the security monitors at Stoneman Douglas as well as the FBI. According to CNN, a total of 45 tips, anonymous tips, were made to either the local sheriff's office or the FBI over a period of several years regarding Nikolas Cruz's behavior. I realize that local police and the FBI receive a lot of tips, and just being a strange, eccentric, one might say, or just a weird, creepy individual isn't really enough, and they probably receive these kind of phone calls a lot. That would be my counter argument to that. That said, however, the phone call that the FBI received the month prior should have been the greatest red flag. Broward County Sheriff's Office received massive criticism due to their conduct on February 14th, due to not immediately confronting Nikolas Cruz. In fact, choosing to stay outside of the Stoneman Douglas grounds prior to actually moving in and dealing with him. Several of those officers that were there that day later resigned. The sheriff himself, Scott Israel, was later suspended without pay by the governor and later replaced with a new sheriff. This was due to his apparent conduct and for not addressing loopholes that allowed Nikolas Cruz to go out and gain access to firearms. Sheriff Scott Israel had allegedly been fully aware of Nikolas Cruz's lengthy threatening behavior. As Nikolas Cruz entered the grounds of Stoneman Douglas High School, he was spotted by a security monitor. The security monitor's name was Andrew Medina. Now, Nikolas Cruz was a former student of Stoneman Douglas and was instantly recognized, carrying a rifle, bag, and a backpack. In fact, after having been expelled from Stoneman Douglas, the teachers circulated an email around to all staff members saying that he was banned from entering the grounds with any kind of backpack with him. Having immediately recognized him, Andrew proceeded to make a radio call to alert the other security monitor that Nikolas Cruz was on the grounds with a backpack. Now, unfortunately, I was unable to find any sources that stated as to why Andrew Medina did this, why he made no real effort to actually stop Nikolas from proceeding. In fact, the only thing that he did do was radio through to his colleague, and his colleague hid in a closet. In fact, due to his complete lack of competence that day and actually choosing not to stop Nikolas, he was actually exposed for his harassing behavior after the shooting. Andrew Medina was actually exposed post-shooting for making inappropriate and harassing comments towards female students. And unfortunately, one of those female students, was one of the victims in the shooting. Now, Stoneman Douglas is the type of high school to have an armed guard. It's the type of high school wherein the students will carry out active shooter drills. Very, very, very sad reality, to be honest with you. The school's resource officer, Scott Peterson, who was the armed member of staff that day, did not choose to enter building 1200. As you can imagine, with the heavy amount of criticism that he and other staff, along with the police, received afterwards, he chose to retire. Unfortunately for him, as of 2019, he faces charges of neglect of the child, perjury, and culpable negligence. Just like Elliot Rodger before him, Nikolas also had a YouTube channel, and on that channel was a grand red flag. The following video was uploaded in 2017. Play the clip.
Hello, my name is Nick, and I'm going to be the next school shooter of 2018. My goal is at least 20 people with an AR-15 and a couple tracer rounds. I think I can get done. Location is Stoneman Douglas in Parkland, Florida. It's going to be a big event. And when you see me on the news, you'll all know who I am. You're all going to die. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah. Can't wait. Alright, so here's the plan. I'm gonna go take an Uber in the afternoon before 2:40. From there, I'll go onto school campus, walk up the stairs, unload my bags, and get my AR and shoot people down at the main courtyard. I'll wait, and people will die. Today is the day that it all begins. The day of my massacre shall begin. All the kids in school will run in fear and hide. From the wrath of my power, they will know who I am. I am nothing, I am no one. My life is nothing and meaningless. Everything that I hold dear, I let go beyond your half. Every day I see the world ending another day. I live a lone life, live in seclusion and solitude. I hate everyone and everything. With the power of my AR, you will all know who I am. I had enough of being told what to do and when to do. I had enough of telling me that I'm an idiot and a dumbass. But in real life, you're all the dumbass. You're all stupid and brainwashed by the political government programs. You will all see, you will all know who my name is. My love for you, Angie, will never go away. I hope to see you in the afterlife. On one day or another, you will end and we'll all die.
According to student testimonies after the shooting and testimonies from Nikolas's friends, he did speak about wanting to carry out a mass shooting, wanting to actually carry out acts of violence, and did so repeatedly, but these threats were often ignored. And I imagine these threats were probably ignored because the vast majority of people probably looked at him as a harmless, strange, creepy kid who was suffering from depression, was dealing with ADHD and autism. I noticed when carrying out the research on this that there was a great deal of focus on his mental health problems. Depression does not make you carry out a mass shooting. ADHD, I know this because I have severe ADHD myself, does not make you carry out a mass shooting. Autism, just as Elliot Rodger before him, does not make you carry out a mass shooting. ADHD is all about impulsivity and not being able to pay attention. There is also a great deal of anger that ADHD produces due to not being able to focus, not being able to expend the energy that's required. You see, people with ADHD cannot expend their energy via physical exercise in the same way that somebody without it would do. People with ADHD need to hyper-focus on things that they find interesting, the things that they enjoy. If someone with ADHD is going to commit a crime, then it's probably going to be something very, very impulsive. It's not going to be something that's going to be planned out like in mass shooting. It's going to be the odd fight with somebody. You know, a car crash, something like that. Maybe even shoplifting. ADHD doesn't make you want to carry out a mass shooting. It doesn't affect you that way. Depression, I know, I've suffered depression. Depression just makes you feel awful. It can make you feel very angry, but it makes you not really want to socialize or go out. It makes you just have a very, very low mood. There is nothing in the list of symptoms that suggests someone with depression wants to carry out a mass shooting. If that was the case, then there would be way more than what there actually is. Now, autism, once again, I do not know what type of autism Nikolas Cruz has. He was obviously high functioning. Autism is a umbrella term for the autistic spectrum disorders. ADHD is in fact on the autistic spectrum. The only real aspect of autism that can really lead to this kind of thing is the impressionability that comes from it. You can be easily manipulated, easily imprinted on, if you will. You're very impressionable. In fact, several years ago here in the United Kingdom, a young autistic man who clearly didn't have the support from social services that he required ended up actually being radicalized by ISIS via the internet. And luckily, services got to him, security services got to him in time before he did anything. That said, there have been absolutely no reports in any media that I could find, nothing in any of the police reports that I've read that suggests to me that somebody tried to radicalize Nikolas. A terrible, terrible, terrible combination of ADHD, depression, and autism coupled with lack of treatment, lack of recognizing the issues that he had, and the lack of support is probably what led to this. That said, I am not now, nor will I ever take away any of what he did, any of his responsibility. away from what he did, unless a mental health medical professional sits down and says he lacks capacity, he has agency, he bears responsibility for his actions. When he was arrested in Coral Springs an hour after the shooting, Nikolas started speaking about hearing voices, hearing demons in his head. He has been consistent with this. He not only spoke about it when he was being pinned down by police and cuffed, but he also spoke about this in the police interviews. Play the clips.
The demons, man.
Demons?
Voices.
What's going on? What's going on today, bro?
The demons, man.
Demons?
Voices.
Yeah, no problem.
Voices.
Voices and demons?
Where's the voices?
And you're talking about demons. What are the demons?
The voices.
Well, tell me about it. What are the voices about?
It's another voice, the evil side.
Okay. And how long has that voice been going on?
Years.
Okay. When did it start, you think? When your mom passed?
It started, worse when my mom passed.
Okay. Did it start how many years before your mom passed, do you think?
When my father died.
Okay. Did you ever tell anybody about the voice? Never? And what does the voice say to you? Well, what does it tell you to do?
Burn, kill, destroy.
Now, unfortunately, due to COVID-19, the trial has been delayed indefinitely until it's over. The trial cannot go ahead until various depositions can be carried out and he's actually been seen by mental health professionals to diagnose him correctly. If he is indeed hearing voices, if he is indeed being told what to do by something in his head, then it's quite possibly a case of schizophrenia. I don't know. I don't care to comment. I don't care to speculate. Who knows? Until that happens, he bears responsibility. One of the big differences between Nikolas Cruz and Elliot Rodger is that Elliot Rodger was able to at least articulate himself very overtly with his motives, his intentions. With Elliot Rodger, he expected the world to just cave to him, to cave to his wants and desires without even communicating this. With Nikolas, it's not that clear. It's not that clear. See, the media have spoken about his racist and xenophobic language used in private direct messages on Instagram, but I have yet to see any screenshots of this. But he apparently had taken quite a lot of pleasure in the idea of taking black slaves. He spoke about how he hates black people, that he hates Jewish people. And it's very clear to me that he did spend a lot of time watching those old conspiracy videos on YouTube about the Jewish question and the Jewish conspiracy. I do know, and I don't really want to get into the politics of this, but I do know some conservatives, and I'm fairly sure one of those conservatives was actually an elected politician, made the comments that this was all a ruse, all fake, and those were crisis actors, and I believe that was based on the fact that it was just anti-Trump propaganda, because on his Instagram, he did have a MAGA hat on and his face covered with a MAGA scarf or bandana. That's some BS conspiracy theory crap. And I don't buy into any of that. Now, politics aside, because I don't want to talk about any of that crap and any kind of speculation, right now I'd like to pay homage to the victims, pay homage to the acts of heroism that occurred that day. But before I do have something to say regarding mass shooters. Mass shooters, these kids, I mean, let's be honest, he was 19 at the time. He's still a kid. He's 19. The idea of an 18-year-old being called an 18-year-old man or an 18-year-old woman is beyond me. Child, kid. Elliot Rodger was still a baby in my mind. He may have been 22 when he died, when he carried out his mass shooting, but he's still a baby, a child, pathetic children. Every time this kind of thing happens, these are usually carried out by social rejects, people who are very socially awkward, people who have been quite clearly often failed by the system, the people that lacked support. That said, they do bear responsibility. It's quite clear to me that they're trying to gain some form of infamy so that history will remember them. Mass shooters, people who do these sick, twisted, disgusting, horrific things, deserve nothing but mockery. Whilst Nikolas Cruz's life has quite clearly been very, very unfortunate, I do not possess a smidgen of sympathy or empathy for him. Just like Elliot Rodger before him, he quite clearly chose to not receive any kind of treatment for the year leading up to the shooting. So until medical professionals announce that he lacks capacity, until he does that, Nikolas Cruz is nothing but a clown, just like Elliot Rodger before him. I do not glorify him, and I do not give him any kind of clout that he's probably looking for with his disgusting actions. You are nothing but a muddy stain, a muddy footprint on history, and you deserve nothing but mockery. The next thing I'm about to read is an accounting of what the geography teacher Scott Beagle did that day. Hearing the shots, geography teacher Scott Beagle tried to reverse course and rush his students back into the room he'd just left. He had locked it behind him. Beagle unlocked the door. Students ran in and cowered behind the teacher's desk. They noticed Beagle wasn't with them. "My teacher is on the floor," Kelsey, friend 16, texted her mother. Beagle 35 had been shot whilst rushing students to safety. He died. "He's my Superman," friend said Thursday. "Superman saves lives, and that's exactly what Mr. Beagle did." Another school staffer, Aaron Fees, an assistant football coach and security guard, also was credited with sacrificing his life to save students during the rampage. What absolutely wonderful and brave men to sacrifice their lives to save students' lives. I sincerely hope that the families of the victims and the students and teachers that may have walked away from this suffering with post-traumatic stress disorder or other mental health problems or even physical injuries are able to find solace and recover as best as they can. I hope they're getting the treatment that they need. All of this, I feel like, could have been avoided. Nikolas Cruz was a active and very, very successful member of JROTC. He was a junior member of ROTC. To those in the UK, that would be something similar to our cadet force. He had achieved great things with them. He would have learned some form of discipline with them. He would have had something to focus on with them. So despite all the red flags, despite yet again another person who just stopped with their mental health therapies, reports being ignored, tips not being processed correctly, another tragedy. But those aren't my opinions. They are as reported in the media. And that's how many, many people feel. When it comes to these kind of things, I can see the counter arguments to them. I don't really want to get into those. The only real opinion that I want to give here is that there is a disgusting amount of focus on things like ADHD, depression, and autism, when none of those things are what's responsible here. Autism did not kill 17 people. ADHD did not kill 17 people. Depression did not kill 17 people. A combination of those things did not kill 17 people. He killed 17 people. And until the state decides that he lacks capacity, that's my opinion. That's where I stand. But thank you guys for watching. Please let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I've been Alex of Irate Alex. This has been True IRL. You've been the Broken Toys, and I shall see you guys next time. Peace.